So I'm going to go a little bit fast, but if you've got questions, just slow me down. First of all, things about me. So I'm a professor of University of Maryland, a PhD from the United States. I specialize in studying nonprofits. And really, one of the things that interests me most about nonprofits is organizational performance. So how do you get a nonprofit to perform at a high level? It turns out, I found out it takes leadership, teamwork, and strategy. So those are three things I think about. Anyway, that's my background. Professionally, I've had 20 years as I've worked in the nonprofit sector, 18 years as the CEO of 2 different nonprofits. But I've been at the University of Maryland now for a number of years where I'm a faculty member, and I teach leadership, teamwork, and strategy. I've written a book on strategic planning for nonprofits. I do consulting in that area, so we're consulting in leadership development, and so this is one of the reasons I'm here. A couple things. We're going to be talking about leadership. And you know what? There are more than 1,000 different definitions of leadership. So when I talk about leadership, I say, I want to tell you a few things about what I believe about leadership. First of all, I believe that higher quality leadership in organizations make it more effective. So leadership is really important. I believe that an organization is more effective when more people in it say, I'm willing to be a leader. Not the boss, but I'm willing to provide leadership. And I believe that quality leadership can be developed in people, which is a good thing since this is a leadership development class, right? When I say quality leadership, I mean leadership that's ethical, it's inclusive, it's vision and mission focused, and most importantly, that leadership contributes towards building a more just, equitable, and vibrant society. And when I think about quality leadership and people that are interested in building a just, equitable, vibrant society, I absolutely think about it. This is my first time having the opportunity to work with a Cherokee Nation. It's really a privilege to be with you. I really appreciate your mission, all the work you do, and the students in the communities. And I'm looking forward to spending with you. By the way, I didn't notice until the last class. There was a typo in the program. I'm actually teaching tomorrow as well, the last 2 sessions on transformation leadership. So if you're interested in what we're talking about here, there's a session on transformation leadership tomorrow afternoon, and feel free to come by and tell me. All right, should we get started? Okay, good. So, leadership development is like the journey. I mean, I'm on my journey. There's still things that I need to do. So right here, where you are in your leadership development journey, this is where you are now. There are things you're doing well, that's great, and there are things that you can improve upon. We all can. And what we're focusing on today is thinking about what are those things that you do really well that you can keep getting better at, and what are the things that you can improve upon. I recommend to every person, and I do this, that you have a written leadership development plan. And you love me every 6 months. I do the same thing. Right? So it's like, okay, here's where I am. Here's the things I'm working on in the next 6 months. And after the next 6 months, you'll be good. Because it's all about all the work in progress. So this is sort of the setup for today. By the way, there's going to be a lot of detail in these slides. If you're interested in a copy of the slides, just please print your name. My name is Eric, so please print as much as you can. And I'll send you a copy of the slides, because there's a lot of content here that we're going to go through. All right, so again, recommend you look at your plan every 6 months. This little tool that I'm going to introduce you to helps give some sort of perspective on leadership development. It's called the Johari window. And the theme of the Johari window is this. In the realm of leadership development, self-awareness is gold. Because the better we perceive ourselves, then we can figure out, okay, this is who I really am. These are my good capabilities. This is what I'm good at. I can mobilize my strengths. And these are things that we improve on. So we really want to develop our self-awareness. We really understand ourselves as well as possible. So what you think about is like you're looking through a window, really kind of at yourself and your leadership capabilities. And you want to be able to open that window as clearly as possible. So that these 4 pages of the window, we're going to talk about how to clean off all 4 pages of those windows so you can make sure yourself as best as possible. That's the thing. The first page of the window is the open and free area. Those are things you know about yourself, and you're very happy to share with other people. Right? Like I know this about myself, happy to tell you about this, that, and everything else. The next area is the blind area. This is the tough area. These are things that you don't know about yourself, but other people know. Like you got a sign on your back, right? It says, "Wow, talks too much in TV." Everybody else knows that. You know what I'm talking about. Some of you know. Yeah. Everybody else knows that, but apparently Rob doesn't. I really know that. That's the boring area. The hidden area, these are things you know about yourself, but you're not really Maybe you get really nervous talking about this. You don't really like it. You don't like it. That's the key. Then finally, there's this thing we call the unknown. Now that's a really interesting area. You're going to touch on that area. Most things you don't know about yourself, other people don't know that area. Either. Just like some new areas to discover. Let's go back to areas 2. Let's imagine that as a result of this class, you're willing, when you're here, so I don't know if you're 100% committed, but if you decide you want to commit to your mission, here's the message. I'm going to ask you to come up with names and public things. If you know somebody who makes you do stuff, you say, hey, I've been thinking about it. Now I'm going to improve this. I'm going to improve my mission. Outside of this class, we really encourage us to do that. And now I'm done. I really appreciate it. If you could help me out by giving me some feedback, you always go through this process, improving myself, because I'm a work in progress. I know I can do better. So, would you really give me some feedback? Because I wasn't sure how that went. Because one thing I know is obviously, I'm very excited. And next time I have an opportunity, I'm going to get a phone. I think I'm going to use some feedback. Okay, thanks. By the way, if you receive anything else, if you can make an improvement, please let me know. Now, here's what's happening. You've now taken that hidden area and you've been open. And that president walked by and said, "Geez, it's really cool that Bob's moving the workers." And it's really great that he was really cheering for you, something he's embarrassed about. He doesn't even really talk to him because other people. She told me to talk. That's what she was to do. It seems really simple position to do. So, by you taking the first step, saying, "Hey, I'm doing this. I'm doing this." So you can clean out the thin area and the blind area simultaneously. So there are other ways to clean out the blind area. You ever heard of a 360 survey? I used in my class, I used to help you do anonymous surveys and to do that. If you ever have a chance to do that, I encourage you to do that. This is my semester-long class, I encourage you to do that. You can do that and ask me this. Anyway, so let's keep jumping right into the mind as we go throughout our class. So, your first assignment, we should take a minute of quiet time and think about 2 people that you're going to go to next week. And you're going to say, I'm going to look at myself, and you're going to see your feedback. We're going to call these people your accountability partners. Because you're going to work with them for the next 6 months on your leadership development plan. You're going to write up a leadership development plan based on what we talked about today. You're going to share with them your plan, And you're going to ask them to be willing to give you feedback and meet with you once a month and check in on how you're doing. That way, when you just, today or tomorrow, let them leave the note, right? And then, none of that works. What you can do, some of you is investment in you in the process. You know, so just take 1 minute, just do 60 seconds. Write down names two people that you will connect with next week, your accountability partners. So I'll just give you 60 seconds. Who are these people going to be? Who will your accountability partners be? Let's take another few seconds. Write those names down. There you go. Let's get started. Now, first thing I want you to do, we're going to be visitors like in class. First thing I want you to do is think about it. I mean, how about self-awareness? There's some things you should have, you know that, right? So, what are 3 things you think you're really good at? You know, 3 of your top skills. All right, thinking that, what are the 3 top skills? 3 things you can do. You do what? What are the 3 things that you do? Three things you do really well. Now let's look at the flip side. I could write you a very long list of things I can improve on. What are 3 important things you can really improve on? If you think about yourself as a leader, what are 3 things you can improve on? Write down 3. 3 areas of improvement. 3 areas in which you can improve. And now, find somebody in the room, somebody you're seeing here, and share what's wrong now, and why. Why do you think these are the 3 most important strengths? Why are these 3 things you think you can really improve on? Find somebody in the room and pair up with each other and just show each other what you're doing.
By yourselves,
Just take a couple minutes each to share. Make sure everybody gets a chance to share their goals, their areas of improvement and their strengths. Everybody have a chance to share? All right. Well, again, this is something we'll be showing your accountability partners next week as well. So, throughout the session, next 45 minutes, 40 minutes or so, we're going to be talking about some different perspectives on leadership. And if you come up with ideas about how to update your listener, then please do that. So, what I'm going to share with you today, I say 1,000 different definitions of leadership. There's been so much research in this area, but there are two perspectives on leadership that are really fundamental. And I want to review those with you. Again, you all have a lot of experience, so you know this when I go through these particular examples. But what we're saying is that, in order to be well-rounded and really effective, leaders need to be good at task-oriented leadership and at the relations-oriented leadership. They need to be really good at both things. So I'm going to review the detail of those, and as I'm doing that, I want you to think about, how well do I do that? Is that something I could improve on? And maybe one of my major ideas of what you improve on and what your strengths are. I invited the last class, I think we certainly like 889 after I really enjoyed your session. And that was she said, please listen to that. So let me do these things well. Task-oriented leadership. There are 5 elements. You can sign this slide and we'll figure out, taking notes here, but 5 elements. 1, you think about 2 elements. The first thing that really affects the leader does is set a clear engagement direction. Where we going? Then the leader utilizes the skills and abilities of the leaders. Establishes a task structure. So, okay, well, we know you're supposed to do, what's the structure of that? You build an effective decision-making process because how are we going to decide where we're going to go? Then finally, you develop a team. Right? Maybe you encourage young team members to have a leadership development plan that they put together in the next 6 months. That's what I had when I was a team. They're doing a team. Have a leadership development plan, review it regularly, and then remind how you do this. So these are the 5 areas. We're going to go into a little more detail. Feel free to ask questions as we go through it. Create a clear and engaging direction. Where are we going? Right? What's the end point? What are our goals? And what are the strategies we're going to follow to go towards those goals? You want a team member committed to the goals. Again, you've never been committed to them. You anticipate challenges because you know there are going to be obstacles out there. And then finally, you review your progress and make modifications. You have regular meetings. It's like, okay, every meeting, let's check in where we are. We have a plan, we have goals, let's talk about where we are, where we're going. Pretty straightforward, you know this. Even going like this, it's language, it's social. So you kind of have goals. And when you set goals, we have tons of research on this. You're going to goals that research is when you're student. And one reason Ed found is that you goals can be smart. And the smart formula is really important. But I'll tell you, the first 2, the SBM, that your goals are specific and measured. Because without that, you don't know if you're making progress. You've got to be relevant to know where you're going and have a date from that. And certainly what can be achievable. But set small goals. That's one of the first thing, get a direction with smart goals. Next thing, you want to utilize the skills and abilities of team members. You got to get to know each team member's skills and abilities. You know, have them what are these things? What are these you're working with? And this is why having a leadership development for a leader of the team can be so helpful and so on. Maybe you need to recruit new people for your team. Now, I know, some of you are in a work setting, and you think of the people on your team, and maybe there's more. You think, what are the skills and knowledge and abilities that our new member of our team? Who are you recruiting? Or maybe you have a volunteer organization. And you say, you know what? We need to recruit the person who volunteers for these skills and abilities. So it's really about meeting them in lesson 2. Figure out a way that each person can utilize their particular skills and expertise. So to do that, you've got to understand, you've got to know each person's abilities. When people are familiar with each other, you have to think about, okay, we're getting to know each other, our strengths and our confidence for improvement. This, yet again, is another reason why having a leadership development for the member of the team, you show each other, is important. You put a plan together to tap into their expertise, and over time, as you get to know each other, what are your strengths, what are your areas of improvement, then you develop that more. You might know that immediately when you add something to your team, what your strengths are, what these are doing. Over time, you get to know them better. For example, I was a member of the team, I was academic for executive engineering. We were a team of people and over time, we have to know our teammate, Chris, one of his strengths, he was an amazing shooter. You know what I'm talking about? Chris could he was like, shoes. So what we learned was, anytime we had a challenge, our team, like one of those bureaucrats on campus, and do what we shouldn't do, and help us out. I don't even know that. It's that. It's just this is over. Shoes is on. How are you? What you want? You know what I mean? It's very cheap. All right. And now we're enabling a team structure. So it's like, okay, we know what our goals are. Now let's figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to put our plan together, how we're going to interact. We can talk about norms in a second, but you want to have everybody should have even in a volunteer situation, right? What are your responsibilities? What's your role? What's each person to do, and how do I interact with each other? You got to clarify this. Make sure everybody knows this. We talk about creating a team responsibility matrix, just a fancy way of saying a list of everybody's names and what their responsibilities are. So we all know what we're doing. I get to share team with. Sometimes you have formal roles, sometimes they're informal roles, right? Like there's people that are just, maybe it's like in the job description, be a cheerleader, it's just really out, right? They're naturally encouraged. So we have formal roles and informal roles. Then we talk about creating healthy norms and establishing these team norms. I want to talk about this for a second. This is a really important thing in teamwork. In fact, if you want to learn more about really great teamwork, the best book I ever read on teamwork is called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And one of the important aspects of that book, it tells us, is that teams should take a few minutes once they're formed together. I'm a volunteer at a church community. We just did this once a week. It's our team chart and the list of our team's norms. What does that mean? Well, basically, it's a fancy way of saying, what are our agreements that help you? Okay. I didn't agree with one of ours the other night. He said, look, this committee is composition out. We're going to talk about some things that are pretty personal. And we're not going to together. We're going to talk about other things out there, right? So there's some standard things you want to do around one, having a written down list of goals. Any kind of team, we call it team chart. How do you really do things? How do you really do it? Alright, so that's part of the team structure. Team decision-making process. So how are we going to make decisions? A lot of times, if you're in a work setting and you're the boss, maybe you decide, I'm just going to make all decisions, but that's usually not good. You want to be involved in this. And if you're in a volunteer situation, even more. We typically like to do things more by consensus of the team. But, regardless, and this is something you should know in the team charter, how are you going to make decisions? Let's write it down. Because you don't want us to have votes. Sooner or later you might need to. But how are we going to do that? So again, you might have some strategic, rational processes. Maybe some things to do. We just want to really identify how do you make decisions, what processes you're going to use, what kinds of decisions you're going to make. And I'm going to fast. Questions on that? Create capabilities to learn about. Again, so the reasons I suggested is the first thing to do, have a system of information form. Share this slide. Because if we aren't continuously improving as individuals, our team's not doing it. But individually, we're all working across, we're all doing better. That means the team can improve, means the organization can improve, and we're all in this together. And I said, self-assessment. So again, sure that you're hard at everything. Figure out what you're good at. Get some feedback from an accountability partner and keep moving forward. And we're going to see in a few minutes when I talk about the leadership development plan. There are some things you are already doing right now where you can say, this is a place for me to grow. I can work on this project and try to improve my leadership development in these 2 years because of this project. Other times you need some sort of, standalone opportunities, like going to a class or something like that. So what I'd like you to do is just to, and I don't want to make it fast, I should take a couple of minutes and just think about how long have you been here? How long have you been here in teaching? Is there a place that you can go there? Are you using smartphones for something? How can you improve? How well do you utilize the skills and abilities of the team? How well do you know the talents of the team? This creates an opportunity to do less than time in getting value. I'd like to get to know you a little bit better. What are some things you'd like to work on? Again, we have leadership. How well can you enable the team structure? How about decision making process? How do you lead them? That's that. We found you to do a little bit more and encouraging people to learn and grow and develop. Providing opportunities. If you're a boss in an organization, it's why it's really important to me. I used to battle with my bosses because I want money to send people to courses, to programs, for them to improve. A lot of times people sit down and give money for reasons. I'm trying to fight for money for development. People develop because, that's how you grow your career. Even if it's all here, maybe you want to do that. Take another minute and think about how well you're doing in each of those areas. Maybe you can update your ideas about your strengths and your opportunities for improvement. All right, that first category was task-oriented leadership. As it turns out, we have these two different pieces we're talking about today that are both very important. Task-oriented is one of those things that a lot of leaders, when they're new, you kind of think, okay, at least I think I understand that one. Relations-oriented leadership, not as much. And yet, we're really includes in social relationships, right? We all know that. That, if you have good relations with your team, people are motivated. There's a lot of theory in it, there's a lot of research. People really, feel like they're understood, they're accepted, they're respected, they're supported, they're more motivated. Good relationships help facilitate communication. You're more likely to listen to the benefit of the doubt, ask them some follow-up questions, and give them social networks through behind that. A lot of teamwork, we're going to go deeper into this one. Developing trust. And again, you all know this. You know this. That teams that have a high level of trust are more high performing. That's how you. Leaders that have a high level of trust between themselves and others. So figuring out how you can develop trust in your team, we're going to do that. All right. There are three elements of relations-oriented leadership. The first is that you build supportive relationships with individuals, you establish trust, and then third, developing effective social networks. Let's go into each of those. Building supportive relations. This takes time. So as a leader, you're going to ask yourself, how are you in 2 years? You don't know really. You guys should know each person like that. We should take some people to lunch. And these are the things you want to do. You want to be able to show them care and consideration, acceptance and respect, support and encouragement, and you want to kind of build a lateral relationship. We'll talk more about what that means. Consideration and care. This is one of those things where it's the right thing to do, and it's smart. Research tells us that when people really care about the feelings of the individual, they get fun. So you show us in the situation, you show them that you care about this person, you get to know, it's not like you become best friends, not really, I know this. But you get to know that well, you can check in on how they move, what's their well-being. Personal details. Really need to know. Showing concern for your feelings and needs. Now, if you're one of these very, very busy people, I just don't have time for all that. Well, then this could be an area for you to think about going back. This might be an area for you to work on. Is how can I slow down and spend a little more time with people on my team, so I can know what their needs are. Know what their needs are. What's going on in their life? You know, we spend a lot of time working and volunteering. What's going on right now? Now again, you don't like to be a therapist, but you know, if you've got personal challenges, reach out to ask them for the support. So consideration and care is one of the key aspects of women's meditation. Questions on this? Acceptance and respect. I suggest that step one, anytime you join a team, a committee, whatever, whether you're the leader or a member, is that you make two commitments when you walk in the door. One is, I'm going to be honest with everybody, and I'm going to respect it. You begin with that, you can start building positive relationships. So showing them respect, showing them honesty, is going to be a good way to a good foundation for development. I accept you for who you are. I accept you and I respect you. You're polite, you're friendly, you're arrogant, you're a good person, you're a good person. You have respect and dignity. Value and listen to their thoughts and their ideas. Again, in our very busy world, that can be hard to do sometimes, but just slowing down. I had a guy a few years ago who told me that he was a leader at a Sheenan home. He said, anytime that's I said in the house, he said, buy a laptop and you should close the laptop. I was on a computer, I would turn the screen away. Make sure those people knew I was supposed to do. So, really listen. Questions on that? Providing support and encouragement. Again, how are you doing? How's it going? So far behind. Who's watching us? From the rush goals. Rush losses. What are you talking about? You're getting on the team. I mean, this is sort of thing we do that, I was a professor these days, and so I don't have a team anymore, but I don't have teaching assistants. It's not going to be just a few weeks ago. Snake Arena, we had that, Washington, Bob. There's something who's going on. I'm not sure what it's about. It's a team. So we can provide some assistance. If they've got a challenge, sure you probably need some technical assistance when you do that. If they're upset, if they're anxious, making sure you provide the right kind of support, right? Because things happen, and sometimes it's personal difficulties, sometimes it's work. You've got to provide support, even in spite of mistakes and failures. I know you can get better. So supporting and encouragement. Lack of relationship. Now, this is funny thing for a lot of people in the work world because they think, hey, I'm the boss. You can do what I tell you. Well, if you learn that really you can be more effective in any kind of situation, you can try to create a more unique kind of situation. Like we're peers. Yeah, I'm your boss, but I'm not going to get anything out of you. I'm not going to get anything out of you. And I need you. And let's work together for this. Build some friendship, build some camaraderie. And again, developing trust and open communication. We'll talk about trust more in a minute. Here we go. Trust. So there's lots of conflict that can occur in the work life, in a volunteer situation, in life. And we have to figure out what these are. Because sometimes there's personality. I can name your personalities, I just naturally that personality, people around, I've got to be very calm with what they're doing. So sometimes there's personality. Then there are issue-based conflicts. Now, those kind of conflicts are actually good. You're like, wow, conflict is good? What are you talking about? Now, I'm not going to put out too much in my spot, but we just had a session here a couple times a day on the importance of these kinds of crucial conversations. And one important kind of crucial conversation can be around we've got conflicting ideas about where to go. Such as loving, friendship, loving, teenage, blah, 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 and a disagree. That's not bad. In fact, it actually be good. In that book I mentioned that go to 5 Solutions to a Team, what the author, Patrick Lencioni, tells us is that if teams can build trust with each other, then they can actually have constructive growth. So, you know what? I appreciate your idea, but I see a little differently. Okay, all right, I respect you. How do you see it? Well, I see like this. Okay, maybe someone else has a third idea. And one of the things you can really bring about a team is that you can put your personal feelings aside and look at the issues as rational as you can and say, okay, we have 3 different ideas out there coming up. We're going to evaluate them, and we're going to figure out which one is best for the organization. It's not personal. That kind of conflict is actually good, but you can never get there without establishing trust. Now, how do you do that? I'll tell you a true story. This is as of 2 days ago, right? I told you this is consulting. One of my, after I do on Sunday, one of my next consulting assignments is that I'm going to be consulting a day-long retreat with the school board in Montgomery County. Now, have you ever heard about Montgomery County? Yeah. Okay, some of that. It is one of the richest counties in the country. I don't know about you, but I have been to school, we run high school in the schools. Montgomery County, 3.5 billion budget and gigantic schools. So these 7 school board members, I worked with them last summer as well. I'll be spending a day-long retreat with them. And I was just talking with their staff the other day. And the staff said, well, Rob, there were new groups that you were here that we have. I said, tell me more. He said, well, there's 7 board members. 3 were just newly elected. So that means that 3 people that happened on that board, last summer you worked with, got replaced by 3 other people. Is we cannot bump in the last 6 months. Because all they do is they get elected and boom, they're thrown right into school board meetings. That means, all our lives, right? Intentions, we just really haven't had time out to get to know each other. So one of the things that I do, we should have meeting the other day, is we're going to do some activities that are better than the time. We get to know each other. Kind of build a positive relationship. I feel like they need to know each other better and create some rules on how they can work together. They're going to be a lot better. So one reason we learn about teams is that you can spend time together outside of the work environment. You can do what that. That's why purposely we're going to have some something lessons. We're going to have the location, and a nice meeting room. It's out in the woods, so it's going to be a nice, positive environment. And we're going to take some time to know each other outside of the day-to-day, how we go to school together, changing policies. I'm not going to do that today. You might discuss that soon. I'm not going to have them forever. I'm going to say, choose person to live that way. So you can answer me. And maybe take a vacation. So share those 3 things with each other. And then I'm going to ask you to put out on your just put out. I just do Bob is that chart that says things like security meetings. And I was actually interesting person to get to know them outside of the workplace, get to know each other a little bit better. And again, this is the whole thing about personal histories. That's what that whole science was a second ago. Or you have to do different personality style assessments, like Myers-Briggs, or something like that. That's actually in a different way. So just building ways for people to know each other outside of the workplace can be a nice way to build trust. That's just a foundation stage. a lot of the things to do to build trust. That's something you can do. That's something you can do. Leaders, lead by honesty. That's the most important metric. I mean, I've taught teamwork literally all over the country. And people ask me all the time, wow, I mean, all the time, wow, I'm on a team, and I was such a boss. When we hire a team, that's sorry. Because if you don't trust your leader, how else are you going to do? What is she going to do? What's next? You might have a subgroup, either a smaller subgroup, starts with the leader. Step one, you have to be honest with yourself. So leader is step that. Again, if you have your role model, people come along. If you make a mistake, you say, I'm sorry. Can you help? You say you need help. Be vulnerable, be honest. You're not perfect, everybody knows that. And again, we encourage others. Again, constructive conflict. Have those conversations with each other. We disagree, we move forward. And then finally, and you know this happens, if people are doing things on your team that are damaging trust others, they're going to find it. Holding people accountable is crucial. And as a leader, you know, intercede, say, hey, it's really not personal times, but look, wow, there's some things you're doing, you're really hurting the team. You love having on the team, look for some things you need to do. Last but not least, somebody said, when you say social networks, you like Facebook? No, we're talking about social networks. We're talking about, and I think about charity issues. That was a great. I love these meetings. We have a chance to meet people who do similar things that you're doing. We know lots of standing across the country. So, you know, as a leader, we want you to develop networks and relationships with people. So you can share ideas, support, and that's one of the things that the leaders do. It's really involved in this side. And again, you all as leaders can do it. So, questions on anything? Same thing. I want you to take a minute and think about it. How well do you build supportive relationships with other people on your team? Is this a place you should go, something you should add to your leadership development improvement area? Like maybe you should do some spend more time with people on your team, have some of these coffee meetings, take the time when you're really, really busy, invest the time. You need to know that better. Maybe that's something you should do. Are there things you can do to build trust? Should you have some of these activities where I know we're really busy, we've got a lot of goals to accomplish, but let's take some time. You don't have to spend a lot of money doing this. You know, let's just take some time. Let's go somewhere different than we've done before, and let's just, you know, enjoy something. We go out to lunch. We can go out. We need to take some time and don't talk about it. Just do this mention. And then, how long do we do it? Think about that. And then we'll start with this. The next thing I want to show you is how task-oriented leadership and relations-oriented leadership can be combined. You want to be able to do both of them well, but you need to know how and when is appropriate to use each kind of behavior, because they complement one another. What I want you to imagine is, let's imagine a volunteer organization, and you've got a brand new person, let's say Rob, has raised his hand and says, hey, all the other committee, all the other board, okay, so Rob raises his hand and says, okay, Rob, you're my team. Once I join the team, once I join the committee, I need some training. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, to some extent. So this is what we call the situation leadership. What this says is, when you have somebody new to your team, you've got to do some analysis to figure out, okay, at the very beginning, how much is Bob going to do this task? Because very often what we do early on in the job is provide a lot of task-oriented leadership. Not trying to, we need to, not the regulations. And it's mostly tasks. Mostly tasks. We say, okay, Rob, look, here's the job. Here's the job description. We're going to go through each item. I'm going to give you practice doing each of these tasks. We'll see how you do. We'll see how well I explain it. How you do it. So the first stage is making sure Rob understands the tasks and the responsibilities. So we're using a lot of task-oriented leadership. Make sense? So once Rob kind of gets the hang of it, then you want to start adding a little more of the relations-oriented leadership. We'll say, Rob, you know what? Good job. How you doing your coaches? That's okay. You know with that. Okay, right here, you should go with that. Right here, so you're going to mix it. And you're a little bit less likely to start adding more relations. Time goes on. So you're doing that. You're right. You're in the hands. So you're really more supporting, more relations-oriented leadership, really less directly, because it's kind of about it. And then finally, once you've really got it down, then you can really delegate. You say, Rob, you're right with this. I'm not going to ignore you. I'm here for you. I'm going to keep checking in. I just know that we're going to support you and provide, occasional encouragement. We're just all fine, 3 times a day and say, good job. You're just able to provide us with validation, because guess what? If you do that, I know what I'm doing, and I'm moving on, I'm on. Okay? I want enough attention, that I know you're paying attention, you're doing a really good job, and doing some kudos. But, you're going to do my job. Now, the mistake that some people make, like some people are very, very heavy task-oriented leadership, that's all they know. And so they treat people like they're in that stage 1 all the time. They become micromanagers. I had a speaker in my class a few weeks ago. I was talking to the classroom. He said, the biggest mistake I made in my first job as a boss. That's how I was doing. He says, after he said he had 2 very negative things. One, I was working 81 hours a week, because I was watching over everybody else did. That's when I wasn't doing. And then second, other people, please stop doing the job, because I'm going to fix it anyway. So why do it? Right? He said, I don't know, this is hard. Right? So you know what? When you get out of that, that's it. The other mistake people make is just like, good job, good luck. You need some training, right? So you got to figure out what a person needs, and then figure it out. You can do that. Guidance, coaches, delegating overloads, questions on this situation? Okay, so here's what I want you to do. It's just, let's reflect back on what we talked about the last 30 minutes or so. Please relook at your strengths and your areas for development, and share with the same people you shared with earlier. What are some things you see? Maybe some other improvements you can make. Some things you can do differently. Please just chit chat with the person you met with earlier in the class, and tell them about your reflections, what we've learned so far. And if you still got the same strengths and areas for development, great. If you got something new, let's talk about it. Check in with your partner. Then obviously you want to share that with your accountability partners next week. Let's just take another 30 seconds. Okay, let's wrap it up, and we just have a couple more minutes. I promise you we'll get you done on time. So I'm going to do a quick ad, quick advertising, quick promotion. I mentioned earlier the Dayton area, here's one of the best assessments that I know of to help you clear out some of that. It's called the Clifton Strengths Finder Assessment. And this is called by the Gallup organization. It is, I think, fantastic. We've talked a lot about myself. I use it for a lot of executives as well as students in my classes. The best way to get it, you're going to do something that costs about $30. It's on my Amazon. You can buy the book. Strengths 2.0. You get the book. The assessment comes with it. You take the assessment. It gives you your top 5 natural talents. So I had you earlier identify your strengths. This will give you according to their assessment your top 5 natural talents. My friend Chris, who's got his Schooser, is his top number 1 strength on the Dallas Space Finder. It's called Blue. Now you're winning others on versus guys. So I encourage you to check that out. Now your homework